In 1957, Burt Lancaster did something unforgettable. He made Kirk Douglas cry in front of a stunned crowd. It wasn't the first clash between these two towering icons of Hollywood, nor would it be the last. For 4 decades, Lancaster and Douglas stood side by side on set, trading jabs and roles, their friendship a volatile mix of admiration, competition, and conflict. Today, we pull back the curtain on the true story of Hollywood's most explosive friendship, one that was always destined to end in flames. Burt Lancaster was born on November 2nd, 1913, in a cramped Manhattan apartment, where survival was a daily struggle. His father, a postal worker earning just $18 a week, stretched every dollar to support a family of 7. They lived in the rugged, bustling neighborhood of East Harlem, a melting pot of cultures where tensions often ran high. For young Burt, life was a masterclass in resilience. His grandparents were Irish immigrants whose determination left a lasting mark on him, teaching him the value of grit. From an early age, Lancaster's world was a clash of light and darkness. At just 9 years old, he witnessed a murder on his own street, a moment that haunted him, even though he rarely spoke of it. But amid the chaos, there were pockets of escape. Books became his sanctuary. Week after week, he lost himself in the pages of borrowed library books, building a quiet, hidden world of imagination, a world he would one day recreate on the silver screen. But young Burt was no quiet dreamer. By age 11, he was a member of a local gang called the Red Devils, a scrappy band of troublemakers in the tough streets of East Harlem. Yet fate had other plans. His life took a dramatic turn when he discovered the Union Settlement, a community center with a gym that became his second home. There, he discovered gymnastics, and his natural athleticism quickly set him apart. By 16, his talent was impossible to ignore. A talent scout from the legendary Ringling Brothers Circus spotted the wiry young acrobat and offered him a chance to escape the grit of Harlem for the dazzling lights of the Big Top. At 19, Lancaster and his best friend Nick Cravat formed an acrobatic duo known as Lang and Cravat. They launched themselves into the wild, unpredictable world of traveling circuses, perfecting death-defying stunts, somersaults, flips, and breathtaking feats on high bars. It was a life of constant travel, performing for spare change and sleeping in barns. But for Burt, the rush of performance was intoxicating. His skills earned him a coveted spot with the prestigious Ringling Brothers Circus, where he performed daring aerial acts high above gasping crowds. But the dream nearly ended in tragedy. In 1939, during a show, Lancaster plummeted 40 feet to the ground, suffering broken ribs and a head injury. His circus career was over. Struggling to recover, he drifted between odd jobs to make ends meet, including a stint as a singing waiter, where his charm and charisma first began to shine. When World War II erupted, Lancaster's journey took yet another turn. Enlisting in 1943, he joined the Army's Special Services Division, using his acrobatic prowess and larger-than-life personality to entertain troops on the front lines. Yet his time in uniform wasn't just about laughter. He saw brutal combat, including the infamous Battle of the Bulge, where he earned a commendation for bravery after single-handedly capturing a German machine gun post, an act of courage he rarely mentioned. The war left Lancaster with scars, both visible and hidden. But it also gifted him a newfound sense of purpose. On makeshift stages for war-weary soldiers, he discovered the magic of performance. When the war ended, he returned home, battle-hardened but determined. It was then that fate intervened once more. A Broadway producer spotted the rugged, charismatic veteran and convinced him to try his luck at acting. At 32, an age when most stars are already shining, Burt Lancaster was just beginning. His first role in the stage play A Sound of Hunting caught the eye of Hollywood agent Harold Hecht, who saw potential in the intense, brooding newcomer. Soon, Universal Studios came calling, looking for an unknown face to star in The Killers. Lancaster's audition was a disaster. Nerves turned his towering presence into a stiff, awkward performance. But producer Mark Hellinger saw something others missed, a raw, untamed talent that, with the right guidance, could light up the screen. What followed was the birth of a legend. Burt Lancaster, the tough kid from East Harlem, would soon become one of Hollywood's most celebrated stars. But for every triumph, there was a battle. For the roles he wanted, the control he craved, and the respect of his peers. And standing across from him, time and again, was Kirk Douglas, a rival, a friend, and an adversary in one of Hollywood's most legendary sagas. Hollywood loves a good discovery story, and in 1946, Burt Lancaster became one of its greatest. When a Broadway producer first spotted him, Lancaster was a raw, towering figure, an ex-acrobat with rugged charm but zero acting experience. But in Hollywood, where dreams are made and broken, raw talent can sometimes be enough. Universal Studios needed a fresh face for The Killers, and despite a clumsy audition that left executives unimpressed, producer Mark Hellinger saw something others missed. "I don't care if he can act," Hellinger reportedly said. "That guy has it." Lancaster won the role, and when The Killers hit theaters, his electric performance stunned audiences. He played Swede, a tragic, world-weary boxer whose fate seemed sealed from the start. Despite his lack of formal training, Lancaster's raw intensity was undeniable. Moviegoers couldn't get enough. Fan letters flooded the studio, thousands in the first week. Hollywood had a new star. Overnight, Lancaster's paycheck jumped to a staggering $1,000 a week, a fortune for a newcomer in the 1940s. Yet fame didn't make Lancaster complacent. Untrained but determined, he treated every set like a classroom. Directors had to show him the basics, where to stand, where to look. But he learned fast. A relentless student of the craft, he studied the greats, watching Spencer Tracy's films on repeat, analyzing how they commanded the screen. Lancaster wasn't content just being in front of the camera. He wanted to understand every part of the filmmaking process. Long after his scenes were shot, he lingered on set, asking questions, observing the crew, and soaking up knowledge. It didn't take long for that curiosity to turn into ambition. Lancaster realized he wasn't just a performer, he was a storyteller. And soon he was pushing for creative control, a bold move in an era when most actors were treated like mere contract players. Unlike some stars who leaned on method acting or emotional immersion, Lancaster developed a style that was direct and dynamic. He focused on what the scene needed, using his athletic physique, commanding voice, and intense gaze to bring his characters to life. This fearless approach opened doors. In The Crimson Pirate, 1952, he wasn't just a star, he was a daredevil. Swinging from ropes, climbing ship masts, and performing gravity-defying stunts, he brought his circus background to life. Audiences loved it. The film was a smash, and Lancaster's old friend and acrobatic partner Nick Cravat played a key role, though he remained silent throughout the film, hiding his thick Brooklyn accent. But Lancaster wasn't just an action hero. In From Here to Eternity, 1953, he showed his dramatic depth, playing a stoic army sergeant locked in a forbidden romance with Deborah Kerr. Their iconic beach kiss, waves crashing around them, became one of the most unforgettable images in cinema history. The film dominated the Oscars, winning 8, including Best Picture. Lancaster was no longer just a star, he was a serious actor. If From Here to Eternity was a declaration of his dramatic talents, Elmer Gantry, 1960, was an all-out showcase. Lancaster played the charismatic, corrupt preacher with a mix of charm and menace, embracing the role's moral complexity. It was a bold choice, tackling themes of religious hypocrisy in an era when such topics were almost taboo. But the gamble paid off. Lancaster's ferocious performance earned him the Academy Award for Best Actor, cementing his reputation as one of Hollywood's finest. Yet for all his success, Lancaster was never content being just an actor. He craved control. In an era when most stars were chained to restrictive studio contracts, Lancaster broke the mold. Teaming up with his agent, Harold Hecht, he launched his own production company, Hecht Hill Lancaster. For Lancaster, this was about more than just profits. It was about freedom. Here was a star willing to bet on himself, using his fame to tell stories that mattered. Under his leadership, the company became a powerhouse, producing films that challenged Hollywood's comfort zone. Their biggest triumph came in 1955 with Marty, a modest, heartfelt drama about a lonely butcher's search for love. It was a film nobody expected to succeed, until it won 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. Lancaster's instincts were vindicated. But Hecht Hill Lancaster wasn't just chasing Oscars. The company tackled tough subjects that other studios avoided: racism, political corruption, social inequality. For Lancaster, movies weren't just entertainment, they were a tool for change. He had transformed from a circus acrobat into a Hollywood star, and now he was becoming something even rarer, a true creative force, a man unafraid to challenge the industry that had made him famous. Running a film company may have seemed like a dream come true for Burt Lancaster, but the reality was far more brutal. Hecht Hill Lancaster became a symbol of his ambition, a daring venture that aimed to bring creative storytelling to Hollywood. Yet with great ambition came great risk. Productions like The Unforgiven, 1960, spiraled over budget, and the pressure of managing the company began to weigh on Lancaster. He was an actor at heart, not a businessman, and the constant juggling act between creativity and finances took its toll. Eventually, Hecht Hill Lancaster folded, but while the company's doors closed, its impact on Hollywood was undeniable. Lancaster had shown the industry that actors could be more than just faces on a screen. They could be visionaries, too. By the 1960s, Lancaster wasn't just a star, he was an icon. His performance in Birdman of Alcatraz, 1962, revealed a new side of his talent. Playing Robert Stroud, a hardened convict who becomes a world-renowned bird expert while in prison, Lancaster delivered a performance brimming with sensitivity and quiet intensity. It earned him yet another Academy Award nomination, solidifying his reputation as one of the industry's finest. That same year, he stood alongside cinematic legends in Judgment at Nuremberg, holding his own with actors like Spencer Tracy and Marlene Dietrich. It was a film that demanded gravitas, and Lancaster delivered, portraying a conflicted Nazi judge seeking redemption. These were the years when Lancaster's name could fill theaters on its own. By 1965, he was among the highest-paid actors in Hollywood, a testament to his star power and versatility. But it was never just about the money. For Lancaster, it was always about the craft, the challenge, and the chance to explore new characters. He could be a swashbuckling pirate, a battle-hardened soldier, or a flawed but mesmerizing preacher. And each time, he made you believe every moment. Yet for all his solo success, one of the most unforgettable chapters of his career was his decades-long partnership with another Hollywood heavyweight, Kirk Douglas. Their on-screen rivalry began in 1947 with I Walk Alone. At the time, Lancaster was a fresh face, an ex-circus acrobat turned movie star. Douglas, by contrast, was a classically trained actor with a fierce intensity that had earned him a reputation as one of Hollywood's rising talents. From the start, there was friction. Lancaster, with his natural charm and physical prowess, worried that Douglas's sharp, methodical style might overshadow him. That tension was electric on screen. Lancaster's character, Frankie Madison, was a hardened ex-convict betrayed by his slick, silver-tongued partner, Noel "Nolly" Turner, played by Douglas. Their scenes crackled with energy, none more so than their climactic confrontation, a masterclass in dramatic acting. Lancaster's rage met Douglas's icy confidence in a showdown filmed 19 times until they captured the perfect balance of fury and betrayal. Off-screen, their rivalry didn't stop. They were fiercely competitive, trying to outdo each other with every line, every gesture. During a brutal fight scene, Lancaster suggested incorporating acrobatic stunts, a clear flex of his circus background. Not to be outdone, Douglas insisted on performing his own moves, despite the danger. It took 3 grueling days to film, leaving both actors bruised and battered. But the result was spectacular, a raw, kinetic display of their commitment and competitive spirit. Critics might have been divided when I Walk Alone hit theaters on December 31st, 1947, but audiences were not. The film was a box office success, raking in $2.3 million, a significant sum for the time. More importantly, it revealed a winning formula. Lancaster and Douglas were electric together, a volatile mix of power and precision, brawn and brains. The two stars had found a partnership that was as explosive as it was profitable, and Hollywood took notice. I Walk Alone wasn't just the beginning of a friendship. It was the start of a rivalry that would define both men's careers for nearly 4 decades. They would reunite in film after film, always pushing each other to the edge, blurring the line between competition and camaraderie. But this was just the first act of their legendary partnership. Their next collaboration, Gunfight at the OK Corral, would take their on-screen chemistry to new heights, solidifying them as one of the most iconic duos in Hollywood history. If I Walk Alone had revealed the fiery chemistry between Burt Lancaster and Kirk Douglas, Gunfight at the OK Corral, 1957, turned that spark into a blazing inferno. The film solidified their status as one of Hollywood's most iconic on-screen duos, a pairing defined by contrasting styles and electric tension. Lancaster's Wyatt Earp was a towering, stoic force of law, calm, commanding, and unflinching. Standing at 6 feet 2 inches, he embodied the image of a no-nonsense lawman, his flat-brimmed hat becoming an iconic part of the character's look, a detail he fought to include after a spirited argument with director John Sturges. By his side was Douglas, a whirlwind of charisma and chaos as the tubercular gunslinger Doc Holliday. Where Lancaster was all quiet authority, Douglas burned with intensity, reckless, unpredictable, but fiercely loyal. Together, they balanced each other perfectly, their contrasting energies turning every scene into a powder keg. Their partnership was a masterclass in chemistry, 2 actors at the height of their powers, playing off each other with the ease of longtime rivals and friends. Yet behind the scenes, the dynamic was far from smooth. Tensions simmered, sometimes boiling over in unexpected ways. One infamous incident unfolded during a tense saloon scene. In the script, Earp is unarmed, surrounded by dangerous men, until Holliday tosses him a gun and the two take control of the room. But as they tried to film it, the sheer bravado of the moment struck them as absurdly funny. Lancaster and Douglas dissolved into uncontrollable laughter, much to the frustration of Sturges. The director tried everything, separating them, filming their parts individually, but as soon as their eyes met, the laughter would return. It was a costly delay, racking up $25,000 in expenses. Yet in a twist of Hollywood magic, the final cut of the scene turned out to be one of the film's most gripping moments, a testament to their ability to deliver under pressure. Another memorable clash came off-screen at a fan event on June 23, 1957. Lancaster, ever the showman, teased Douglas about his height, a sensitive subject for the 5'7" actor. With his towering 6 feet 2 inches frame, Lancaster quipped that Douglas wore lifts in his shoes to look taller on screen. The remark was meant as a joke, but it struck a nerve. Douglas's face turned red, and to everyone's shock, he burst into tears before storming out. Lancaster tried to apologize, but the damage was done. For a while, their friendship cooled, and though they eventually reconciled, the incident revealed a crack in their seemingly unshakable bond. Douglas would later write about the moment in his autobiography, admitting that insecurities about his height had haunted him since childhood. It was a rare glimpse beneath the tough, confident exterior of the Hollywood legend, a reminder that even giants of the silver screen could be vulnerable. But the drama didn't stop the film from becoming a triumph. Gunfight at the OK Corral premiered on May 30th, 1957, to roaring success, earning over $1 million on a $2 million budget, a significant return at the time. The climactic 30-minute gunfight was a tour de force, taking 18 grueling days to film and using over 5,000 blank cartridges. The intensity and realism of the scene drew praise, and the film secured 2 Academy Award nominations for Best Editing and Best Sound. Lancaster's willingness to take risks didn't end with his collaborations with Douglas. In 1963, he shocked Hollywood by accepting the role of Don Fabrizio Corbera, the aging Sicilian prince, in Luchino Visconti's The Leopard. The role was a far cry from his usual American tough guy persona, and critics were skeptical. How could a New York-born all-American actor like Lancaster possibly pull off an aristocratic Italian prince? But Lancaster was a master of transformation. He gained weight, dyed his hair gray, and fully immersed himself in the world of 19th century Sicily. Even though he didn't speak Italian, he learned his lines phonetically and delivered them with such conviction that Italian audiences believed he was fluent. To perfect his performance, he spent months in Italy, absorbing the culture, studying the Sicilian accent, and working closely with Visconti, a director known for his relentless perfectionism. The Leopard was a masterpiece, a sweeping epic that captured the twilight of an aristocratic world on the brink of change. And at its heart was Lancaster's towering performance, a portrait of dignity, melancholy, and quiet strength. Critics who once doubted his casting were forced to eat their words. It was a performance so powerful that it redefined Lancaster's career, proving that he was far more than just a rugged action star. He was an actor of incredible depth and range, capable of commanding the screen in any role. Yet even as he scaled new heights in his career, the fire between Lancaster and Douglas continued to smolder. They would reunite, clash, compete, and create magic together, always walking the fine line between rivalry and friendship. The Leopard showcased cinematic grandeur with a budget of $5 million, equivalent to about $45 million today. An entire Sicilian village was built for the production, and over 5,000 extras participated in an extravagant ballroom scene. Burt Lancaster performed demanding stunts, including a 6-hour dance marathon. When the film premiered at the Cannes Film Festival, its 205-minute runtime received acclaim, with critics praising Lancaster's performance, dispelling doubts about his suitability for a European historical drama. Following this, Lancaster collaborated with Kirk Douglas in 7 Days in May 1964, a political thriller centered on a coup plot against the U.S. government. Despite the Department of Defense's refusal to cooperate, President Kennedy supported the film, allowing location shooting near the White House. Lancaster's portrayal of a stern general was riveting, highlighted by an intense 7-minute uncut scene with Douglas. The film, shot in black and white with a $2.2 million budget, grossed $3.65 million and earned 2 Oscar nominations. As Lancaster transitioned into the 1980s, he sought roles with more depth, starting with his Academy Award-nominated performance in Atlantic City, 1980. Burt Lancaster's later career was marked by surprising roles that captivated audiences. In Local Hero, 1983, he played Felix Happer, a quirky oil tycoon blending comedy and pathos. He then portrayed a hardened tabloid editor in Scandal Sheet, 1985, and a fearless CIA operative in the Cold War thriller Control, 1986. Lancaster's warmth shone in Rocket Gibraltar, 1988, where he played a grandfather celebrating a milestone birthday, embodying themes of love and legacy. His performances in Atlantic City featured Lou Pascal, showcasing emotional depth alongside Susan Sarandon, and Field of Dreams, 1989, presented Dr. Archibald "Moonlight" Graham, leaving an enduring impact with a heartfelt line about dreams and ordinary life. Lancaster's choices in later roles illustrated his boldness as he continued to move viewers. His last collaboration with Kirk Douglas in Tough Guys, 1986, offered a poignant, lighthearted reflection on aging and friendship, marking the end of an iconic Hollywood era. Their genuine bond made the film memorable despite not being a blockbuster. By 1983, Lancaster's health was declining, necessitating emergency quadruple heart bypass surgery. Despite this major operation, he returned to filming shortly after, showcasing his determination when, after suffering a gallbladder attack during the filming of Rocket Gibraltar, he was back on set within 10 days against medical advice. Lancaster's unwavering passion for storytelling propelled him forward. One of his final significant roles was in the 1991 miniseries Separate but Equal, where he portrayed a Supreme Court justice involved in the landmark Brown versus Board of Education case. However, a debilitating stroke hampered his ability to speak and move. Yet he persevered with the help of a speech therapist to complete the role, marking a poignant departure highlighting themes of justice and human dignity. Following this, he slowly withdrew from acting as his health continued to decline, but his dedication to his craft remained intact. Off-screen, Lancaster's life was intricate. He married 3 times and had 5 children, with his first marriage to circus acrobat June Ernst, ending in 1946, the same year. He achieved stardom with The Killers. Later that year, Burt Lancaster married Norma Anderson, presenting themselves as the ideal Hollywood couple and having 5 children: Bill, James, Susan, Joanna, and Seal. However, their marriage was strained. When they wed, Norma was pregnant, and the studio fabricated a narrative that she was a young war widow to shield Lancaster's heartthrob image, creating an atmosphere of distance and discontent. Lancaster's numerous romantic entanglements, including affairs with Marlene Dietrich and reportedly Deborah Kerr, exacerbated their issues. In 1969, Norma filed for divorce, citing extreme cruelty, and won custody of their younger children and a substantial settlement. Years later, he married Susan Martin, remaining together until his death in 1994. While Norma, devoted to her Catholic faith, never regarded herself as truly divorced. Lancaster was a deeply private man, avoiding discussions about his personal life. Speculation about his sexuality remained unaddressed. Ultimately, Lancaster left a significant legacy through his diverse body of work, while embodying the complexity of his character with grace. Burt Lancaster maintained a mysterious silence regarding his private life, yet he was a strong advocate for important causes. Lancaster actively supported civil rights, marching alongside Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. during the 1963 March on Washington and financially backing the movement. His advocacy for social justice continued for years, culminating in his support for Democratic candidate George McGovern in 1972, which landed him on President Nixon's enemies list, a badge of honor for Lancaster. His political views often merged with his artistic endeavors. His performance in Elmer Gantry, 1960, critiqued corrupt evangelical figures and earned him an Academy Award. Lancaster redefined what it meant to be a leading man, showcasing his athletic background in action roles while also embracing complex, flawed characters, as seen in Sweet Smell of Success, 1957. He died on October 20th, 1994, at 80, after enduring a stroke in 1990 that left him partially paralyzed. His final days were marked by perseverance, embodying the tenacity that defined his legacy. Burt Lancaster's final screen appearance was in 1989's The Phantom of the Opera, a testament to his unwavering passion for acting despite the encroachment of age and illness. His enduring friendship with Kirk Douglas, which began in 1946, became a significant aspect of his legacy. They collaborated in iconic films like Gunfight at the OK Corral, 1957, and 7 Days in May, 1964. Fostering a mix of affection and healthy competition that elevated both their performances. Their bond culminated in a stage production in 1981, highlighting their deep connection beyond cinema. Upon Lancaster's passing, tributes flooded in, with Douglas calling him a giant whose spirit would persist through his work. Sidney Poitier lauded Lancaster's bravery in defending civil rights, while director Louis Malle recalled his relentless energy. Lancaster was not just an actor. He was a transformative figure who broke barriers, advocated for justice, and redefined masculinity in film, leaving a lasting impact on future generations of actors.